What's up, fuckers? Terry here with Blunt Trips. Today I am coming to you from 12293 East Lift Street. It is now a Panera Bread. I'm sorry, 12293 East Lift Street in Aurora, Colorado. It is now a Panera Bread, but at one time this was a Chuck E. Cheese pizza where 4 people were killed and a 5th was seriously wounded when Nathan Dunlap, a former employee here, decided to take revenge after being fired and rob the place for a total of $1,500 in cash and tokens. Wasn't just cash. Anyways, here we are. This is the former Chuck E. Cheese. I am Terry with Blunt Trips, and let's get started. So, on the morning of December 14th, 1993, Nathan Dunlap decided to come into what was the Chuck E. Cheese, and at the time he was fired. He came in here at approximately 9:05 p.m. and at which time he had a ham and cheese sandwich, and he hung out until approximately 9:50, at which time he went into the bathroom and remained there till 10:05 when the place was closed. Now, after it was closed, Dunlap first shot Sylvia Crowell, 19 years old, as she was cleaning the salad bar. She was hit close range in the right ear and was mortally wounded. Ben Grant was 17 at the time. He was shot in his left eye as he was vacuuming the place, trying to go home. Colleen Connor, she was 17. She pleaded for her life and sank to her knees, but Dunlap fatally shot her once on top of her head. Bobby Stevens was out back at this back door here. At the time he was smoking a cigarette. He heard pops and thought it was kids playing. And after he smoked a cigarette, he came inside and was loading the dishwasher, at which time Dunlap shot him in the face. He at that time played dead, and Dunlap moved on to the manager. At that time, Dunlap forced the manager, Marge Kohlberg, 50, into the office and forced her to open the safe, which she did, and that time he shot her once in the ear. Where he opened up the safe and took a total of $1,500 in cash and tokens. After that, he realized Marge was still alive. He shot her second time in the ear. Around that time, Stevens came out this back door here and ran for help over to these apartments. Again, Stevens was lone survivor of this shooting, and that's where he ran for help to save his life. Again, he was just out back taking a break at the time. He didn't have no idea when he walked back in to load the dishwasher that that's what he'd be walking to. Alright, again, this is a Panera Bread now, but at the time it was a Chuck E. Cheese in 1993. But this is the door where Nathan Dunlap ran out of and escaped and was caught 12 hours after. He is now one of the last 3 remaining people on death row. All 3 committed their crimes right here in Aurora, Colorado. I will be covering the next 2 in the second part of this series of Colorado's Dead Man Walking. But again, that's the door he ran out of 12 hours before he was caught. Again, we're at the former Chuck E. Cheese. It is now a Panera Bread. This is where 4 people died, a 5th was shot and survived after he ran to those apartments and got help. But this is what made Nathan Dunlap famous. Quick look at the plaza around it. Alright, I'm going to wrap this one up. Again, I am Terry. You are watching Blunt Trips, and this was about Nathan Dunlap and the Chuck E. Cheese shooting that took place on December 14th, 1993. Again, if you haven't liked and subscribed, be sure to do so. I got many more great videos coming. And I'm out of here. Stay cool, fuckers. What's up, fuckers? Terry here, coming to you from Fairmont Cemetery here in Denver, Colorado. And today we are looking for the graves of 2 of the 4 victims from the Chuck E. Cheese murders back in 1993, committed by Nathan Dunlap. The graves we are looking for today are going to be Sylvia Crowell and Colleen O'Connor. There are 2 of the 4 that are buried here. Ben Grant is buried in Indiana. He was a 3rd victim, and a 4th victim, Marge, I forget her last name, I will have it by editing, to my knowledge would have been cremated because there is no grave site listed for her. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and find these graves. We are standing at the gravesite of Sylvia Kathleen Crowell. She was the first victim that night when James Dunlap started his shooting and killing people, all for $1,500 in cash and video game tokens because he was mad that he got fired. This is where he put her. She don't get to go home. She don't get a second chance while he's spared, currently on death row. She's laying here in the grave for eternity. Now, as I said, she was the first one that was shot that night. After her, Nathan shot Ben Grant. Ben Grant was only 17 at the time. He was shot in his left eye, and he died. After that, again, as I said earlier in this blog, Nathan shot Colleen O'Connor. She was 17. She was down on her knees pleading for her life, and he shot her in the top of her head. We're going to go visit her grave now. Alright, we are in section 68. I have been at this graveyard or cemetery for almost 3 hours searching for 2 graves. But we are going to find Colleen O'Connor's grave. And while I'm in this section, there's actually a second grave that I'm searching for an upcoming episode I'm doing in about 2 weeks on Columbine. Isaiah Scholl's grave is also in this section, so if I see it, I'm going to grab it while I'm out here. Anyways, let's see if we can't find Colleen O'Connor's grave. And the first grave I see is a Colleen. There's Isaiah Scholl's. He was a victim of the Columbine shooting. He was the only black victim. He was shot because he was black. But anyways, we'll come back to that. So there's the grave of Colleen Rose McNally O'Connor, the third victim of the Chuck E. Cheese shooting. Again, she was on her knees begging for her life when Nathan Dunlap decided to shoot her in the top of her head. And that's where she lays, all for $1,500 in cash and game tokens. And right over her shoulder, I don't know if you can see it, let me see if I can zoom in. Right there is another young person that died. And I'll be covering him actually in another episode. But that was Elijah Scholl's. He also was very young when he was killed at Columbine, right over her shoulder. 2 young people tragically killed, but that's a different case. And I will be covering that episode soon, as the anniversary is coming up for Columbine in approximately 3 weeks. I should have an episode for that one as well. But this is Colleen O'Connor's grave, and the last victim that died, of course, there was Bobby Stevens. He was shot in the jaw and survived, but after that the last victim, she didn't make it either, and there is no grave for her. Her name was Marge. Something I'll have the details in editing. But there you have it. Those are the graves of the victims that are buried here, right not far from where the Chuck E. Cheese was.